motherhood. I saw your post. You said you had all this plan to see your room. Then contraction showed you Pepe.
I feel like motherhood is one thing that really changed my mind to a lot of things and how I see life and understand my mom 100% now.
Okay guys, let's continue the video. Okay, so here on this video we'll talk about Priscilla encountering motherhood, how she felt. She also touched on a little bit about the real reason why JUX wasn't in Canada when she was giving birth. Of course, JUX has already talked about that on his previous interview that he did with Wasafi. PRISCY also touched on the judgment that came with JUX on his age not being able to have a kid. Okay, so let's start in the beginning. PRISCY talked about how motherhood literally changed how she looked at her mother now, because going through that experience actually made her see things clearly.
I'm always awake. Like, I feel like if I'm sleeping, I'm wasting life. I don't know if I'm the only one that feel like that.
You should be out there doing things.
Thank you. But now, even if it's 5 minutes,
any sleep you can find.
You know, I feel like that's like the only challenging part, because I'm like, now imagine someone that likes to sleep.
She also touched on how in the beginning she used to look at sleep like wasting time. And now she gets so tired that even if she's able to get 5 minutes, she'll just sneak in and sleep. She looked at sleep as something that she used to look at. She did not appreciate sleep until after becoming a mother. Basically, that is what she was trying to say. She also touched on, can you imagine people who love to sleep like moi? Hey, I love sleep, y'all. Anyway, so let's continue the video, y'all.
I got to the hospital with my mom. She really she was around. You know, my husband he wasn't able to get his visa on time, so he couldn't come. Yeah, but I was like, I missed him so much. Then I was like, oh God.
Let's talk about that part. Of course, PRISCY was talking about how the labor came in early, and of course they had to rush. She was planning to slay while going to give birth, but Rakim came in early. She also touched on she was there at the hospital with her mother, and of course the real reason why Juma JUX could not be in Canada was because of visa, with which JUX himself has already talked about, saying that but PRISCY also stated that she really missed JUX. You can imagine it was her first pregnancy, JUX's first pregnancy too, and of course they had plans. JUX himself encountered being so sad because he had a lot of plans. You know, he wanted to be the first one to hold the baby immediately it came out, and JUX also talked about it in the interview that he talked with Wasafi, saying that that is probably something that he's still trying to cope with.
The hospital, and you know, when I had my baby, I was on my phone, still posting and everything. The next day.
Because she also touched on how, you know, giving birth wasn't hard. She was very still happy seeing the baby, that she did not even feel the pain. You know, she was literally still posting, right? And then she said that the following day now is when she couldn't feel her legs. She kept on feeling pain, but of course she really appreciated. And then later on she talked about how she was kind of scared. You all know all the things that were being said on social media, especially with her mother's haters. Let me play you that part.
Because seeing him was like, wow, I did it. Because I had a feel like, you know, like I've heard a lot of pregnancy stories, and like if the mother didn't make it, the child didn't make it. I was just excited. I made it. My baby's fine. My baby's British. I didn't focus on any other thing. Yeah, it was.
Of course, I understand, and I think that's why also PRISCY wanted her husband to be there so badly. Of course, PRISCY go ahead and say that she was very happy because the baby was healthy and the baby was fine. She was a little bit scared because she hears stories of the baby who did not make it, or the mother who did not make it, and looking at her baby and seeing that everything was perfect, she really did not feel the pain or did not realize that her body was in pain up until the following day, is when she was like, hold on a minute, my legs are really not working, like what's tea? You know what I'm saying? And I think this had to do with a lot of things that were being said, you know what I'm saying? And you know, in as much as you can be a hardcore, it does penetrate, you know what I'm saying? Especially when blogs kept on reposting about it, and it does get to someone, because to be honest, I remember it was a dark moment, and nobody wanna go through that. Yeah, nobody wanna go through that. I don't wanna mention some things that was said, but we thank God Rakim is here and Priscilla is fine.
Him is much older,
Yes.
so he was very sure. Like even in his country, they were always saying that, oh, he cannot have a baby, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
They didn't know he was very ready. So that's how much disciplined he is. Yeah, so
Because
he
it's
knew.
been so long.
Now, let's talk about that part. I wanted to put it on another video, but I decided to put it on this one because we're talking about baby Rakim, yeah? So Priscilla talked about how JUX is actually very disciplined, okay? He know what he wants, and he is a very patient person, okay? So she talked about how because JUX was on his 30s, how, you know, he's been on relationships, people kept on, you know, calling him names, saying he's impotent, he can't give birth, and them just getting married and immediately her becoming pregnant, she feel like that was a good thing. And you know, the patient, like JUX himself is on record many times saying that he has always knew that he's able to have a kid despite all the pressure. You know, sometimes, especially when you're an artist, right? They do give you a lot of pressure, especially when you see your peers and when you see people bullying you because you don't have a kid. Yeah, like in celebrity world, you rather have 12 baby mamas. Yes, and nobody will really care. But PRISCY is saying she really appreciates JUX's discipline. It's top notch.
Before he got married.
Exactly.
So I thought he's not interested.
They were even saying it was like implant, like it was surrogacy or implanted or
Also,
something.
I thought maybe he was inputted because he hadn't had a baby.
Exactly.
Like other musicians.
Exactly. Because of, you know, his friends have had
Yes,
babies and everything. They're like, why is it different? Because obviously he's been in past relationship. So they're like, there were questions, but he knew when he was.
Let's talk about that part. And you all know that this is the real reason why I don't F with beach collie. In fact, if I find somewhere where beach collie is being stoned, I'll make sure to get the big block. You see that big block where they put in the corner of the house? That one, the one I go pick and put in the middle of his head. So beach collie is the one who started this rumor, y'all. So PRISCY go ahead and said that even when we got pregnant, and how fast it was, there were some people who still believed that JUX could not have kid, so they assumed that we had some sort of IVF, or you'll remember some blogs in Nigeria. I won't call it blogs per se, but there's a blog in Nigeria who even insinuated that PRISCY wasn't really pregnant, that it was a surrogacy. Another lady was carrying the baby and PRISCY was just, you know, carrying a balloon in the belly. You know, a lot of things were being said, and I would say God's timing is the best. You know what I'm saying? And PRISCY also touched on how JUX's friends were having babies left, right, and center. And the fact that did not make him fold, and he continued to be a principled man that he is, that got to show you that these are one of the qualities that PRISCY was like, God damn. You know, she doesn't have to deal with baby mama drama. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's continue. Let me add something. So you all remember on the previous video when I told you that Yabo went on doxing, or not really doxing is not a word, good word, going in, looking on Juma Jux's resume, you know, past, present, what is he doing? Is he a problematic person? I'm sure the thing that Yabo wanted to know the most is, does he have a child? Because the last thing that Yabo probably wanted is her young daughter, a 23-year-old, to get with a dude who have a baby. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's continue.
Baby mama drama. That's a disciplined man. There.
Exactly, that's it.
So he knew what he was looking for.
He knew what he wanted.
And when he saw it,
Yes.
he went for it. So, you know,
And that's on that, y'all. Anyway, tell me how y'all feel about it down in the comment section. I'm so happy with how Priscilla contained herself in this interview, and how it was very deep, issued, but the way this guy made PRISCY feel so comfortable to be able to open up about these situations, because again, I've never heard her being this deep in any interview. So let's continue. Let me try and see if she talked anything about the baby.
Using her postnatal depression.
Yes.
And you were being very graceful about it because the same way you said it now, you say, look, that's my experience. It's not what other people
Thank
go
you.
through.
No, mothers go through that, but this is my own.
But the bloggers blogged.
Yeah.
And said whatever it is.
Exactly.
So y'all remember the postpartum depression? Like when a mother gives birth, there are some women who literally lose their mind. I know of a relative who almost was taken to a psych ward, literally. Well, when PRISCY talked about her not experiencing postpartum depression, and there is a lady who went and twisted and made it seem like PRISCY said because rich people cannot experience that, while those were not PRISCY's words. PRISCY is like, this is something that happened to even rich people. It ain't got nothing to do with if you're rich or poor. And PRISCY was saying this because she's not the only one who haven't been through it. There are so many women who have kids who never went through this. And there are some whom have gone through it. So she was just, sharing her experiences with people, but unfortunately there's a blogger who went in and changed the story and got PRISCY dragged because of lies, basically.
It's like I was like, I missed my husband so much. So I was like, I think it was almost like a postpartum depression because I really wished he was there. But then I think when I got back to Tanzania, I was fine. We were communicating, and then I did my back pop up.
Okay, PRISCY also talked about how before meeting her husband, after giving birth, because you all know that the husband could not travel, and of course because they had a newborn, there are a lot of paperwork which needed to be done. Plus the baby needed to be at a certain month for the safe flight, right? PRISCY talked about how at some point she missed her husband so much, and she feel like that could have been the most stressing period in her life, and could have been probably the time that she experienced the postpartum depression.
I feel like we're not the first people doing that.
To cover the baby's face.
Exactly. I feel like maybe because it's me, I don't know, or maybe because it's her, I don't know why.
She also addressed covering the baby's face and how she felt when people were criticizing her, and she said that a lot of people do that, not only celebrities but also regular people, right? But she felt like they probably did that because of who she is. She also said that, there's some people who are telling her, instead of posting it like that, why not wait until when she's ready so that she'll be able to post it? And she said that no, she doesn't want to wait. She'll post when she want to post and how she want to post it. And of course, she also talked about motherhood, and she talked about how motherhood has been good on her side because she's still being able to work. They have a balance, her and her husband. She also touched on now she's more responsible on how she's using the money, making sure the house is on a good environment for the sake of their child, and so forth and so on. So yeah, this was just about that. Okay, let me try and see if I'll be able to stop it right here and maybe do one more video. Kindly like the video. Anyway, keep it classy. Stay messy. See you in my next one.